Come on guys, gang. Should be a nice pleasant morning of carving here today. Nothing special going on. What day is it today? It's Thursday. Shop's been very quiet the last couple of days, last few days. Very quiet yesterday. We are in our official winter, quiet season now for sure. And nobody's here is complaining about that at all. It's a chance for us to just get caught up on so many other things. The kids in the shop spent the day yesterday mostly packing flea market stuff. We've got lots of goods we've received over the past few months that haven't been unpacked, packed for the shop yet, so that's what they've been doing. One of the jobs for today is we'll be reorganizing the computers for the shop here. The big computer that's down here in the shop for use by the customers is going to go upstairs to Cameron's office. And we've got another replacement computer for that one here. So once it's set up in Cameron's office, our new staff member, Kida-san, she'll be working 2 days a week full-time on putting flea market prints into the website. So over the next few weeks, we'll be vastly expanding the website selection of prints. And once she gets a good handle on that, gets a chunk of that done, we're going to have the next job for her would be to start cataloging and organizing our own print collection. The prints that we've collected here, the ones that are not here for sale. As much as possible, I'm going to get that collection online as well, but that's a multi-year process. It's going to take a long time. At some point, we have to get it started, so as good a time as any. No, too soft. That's not hurting. So, who we got here this morning? T7, T2, T1, good morning, gang. The paper is out, thank you very much. After yesterday's near disaster, I did get it out, yes. Much of the question, yesterday's stream, I took a wedge out of the corner where two lines meet. Are we talking about a wedge out of the corner where two lines meet? Like in this sort of stuff, I had cut down a line here and a line here and popped out the corner. Can I find one? I don't know. I'm not sure if I can find one here. maybe here, right? Like this, is it, right? We've got a line coming down here, here, and here. So we've got a corner now. The lines have been cut. We pop out the little triangle. Is that what we're talking about? And it's a few things happening here. One is that when we use the clearing chisels later, that's a bit too big. We can't get up to the corner because it'll damage the corner. So the clearing chisels take out the central area stuff, but they can't work up to the corners. The only thing that should work on the corner is the actual sharp knife itself. So I think that's what you probably saw. I don't know exactly. And when the spaces are small enough like this one, it's going to come out anyway. Out she comes. And all of these techniques are just all about protecting the lines. So you can't bang or muck up or squeeze the lines. It's the line itself that has to be protected. So here, I've cut down there and I cut down there. The safest way to get rid of this wood is with the same knife. Now there's room for the chisel to go in. Because the corners are gone, there's room for the chisel to go in without touching the lines itself. Out she comes. Also, I didn't see you relief cutting for the second side of a line. The relief cutting for the second side of a line. We explained this before, that for the most part, when there's a fine line, I'm not going to muck with it now, but when I get to this part, for example, we'll cut one side of this, and before I cut the back side of that very thin line, I'll cut a relief cut here. Was I doing something here? This one today here, the one we're going to do right now. This line, one side is cut, and I'm going to cut the second side of this, but I don't think I need a relief cut here. This is a good, big, fat line. And the stress from the knife is going on my right, this side. So this is big enough that I don't think I need a relief cut here. When I do this one, we will. Let's see how it works. Sweep up and around. But you gotta be careful. If I put too much pressure here, it can pop out that next line in line. So here we go, carefully. And that line we just cut is the relief line for this one. This one now has been relieved. And look at the wood, it just moves out of the way all by itself. It's just, the wood is just ejecting itself. So for that one, we would never have cut this one first because it's thinner and unsupported. And then back on here. Yesterday in the morning here it was very quiet, so actually I got a chance to leave. The two girls, Aimi-san and Aimi-san and Audrey-san were handling it yesterday. There were only two small parties scheduled. So the girls handled the parties, and I went out to do a bit of research and shopping. I went over to Akihabara. There's a shop there that is a telescope/microscope shop. I wanted to get some advice and information and perhaps even pick up an adapter. As I mentioned the other day, we have another microscope standing in reserve here at Mokuhankan. The one I'm using here at the moment is a binocular scope. I look down, through it. It's a stereoscope. But for camera, the camera has to shoot from outside. And we have also, in the storage room here, we have a trinocular microscope. But we haven't ever figured out how to get it working with a camera and stuff like that. So Aoyama-san and I spent some time the other day trying to figure out the lens setups for it. And we have ordered a lens attachment for it that we think will change the focus system enough that I'll be able to use it. At the moment, that trinocular is too powerful, too strong, and I can't get a good view of the work. But there's a lens attachment that we've ordered for it that we understand, if we understand the system correctly, should adjust the focus in a way that it'll be usable for my work. And that's stage one with the scope. And once we've got stage one figured out, we will then move on to try and figure out how to get a camera attached to the third eyepiece. And the third eyepiece on a trinocular scope is different from the eyepieces that the people look down. It's designed to hold a camera, but it's not designed to hold a camera that already has a lens. It's designed for a CCD camera, one that doesn't have a lens. And the guy at the scope shop yesterday was explaining this to me. I had gone over there thinking, this has a thread 25 millimeters, my camera has a thread 43, I just need an adapter to screw them together and there we go, bing, we're going to be up and running. And I learned a bunch yesterday, and that's not how it works. The camera mount on a microscope like this is designed to be used with a camera unit, with a CCD unit that has no lens. It's all built at a specific focal length, and the microscope is sending light information up that tube, and you put a thing called a C mount or a CS mount, different sizes on there. And the light falls directly on the CCD, on the sensor. So I had misunderstood the concept. So the guy explained a bunch of it to me, and now we're looking around to try and find the right couplings and the right adapters, and we have to find the right camera. We just can't slap my Handycam on there and expect it to work. So we started the research, we started exploring how to do it, and over the course of the next few days / weeks, we will be exploring the possibilities of getting a trinocular microscope set up. So there should be some interesting stuff coming down the pipe here in the next couple of weeks. And having said that, I'm not really sure if all this is such a great idea. What you're seeing now is you're seeing the view of my fingers as an observer would see them. If you were sitting right in front of my bench here, looking at my hands working, the view you're seeing now is what you would see. But if we get this alternative microscope set up, and you get the view from inside the scope, is that better? Is that what you want to see? I don't know if it would be useful or not. I don't know. Now, as I move my hands back, you would then see nothing. Then I move my hands in, you would see the blade come into view. I'm really not sure how useful it would be. And then we've got the problem of what to do, for example, when I go sharpening or something. With this current camera setup, you've seen me do this. We zoom in and zoom out all the time. I forget to zoom in sometimes, but we do have the control. We can zoom in, zoom out, show this, show that. If we switch to a camera that's down through the lens, we lose that. And all we can see is down what's through the lens. And if I have to sharpen my knife or something, whatever the camera would do, it just sit there looking at nothing. So we might explore this once in a while as an interesting visual effect, but I doubt it's something that will come into daily use here on the stream. What might be more useful, thinking about it for this scope view is, just keep the current setup as it is. Keep the Handycam running, keep it where it is, and then maybe just another picture-in-picture. You've got my picture here in the top left. Imagine, for example, at the bottom left, that space is not so much used, the space here on the main camera view. If at the bottom left we had another picture-in-picture, and that was a scope view, so that we could have it there. I could pop it in and pop it out when it seemed useful, but kept the main thrust with the camera that you see now. So I think that's probably the approach I might take to this. Rather than switch the entire system to a microscope view, just have that available. We'll see how it goes out. I got a nick in that thing there. What did I do? So. Okay, that's the clothing done on this one, I think. It's my own, quirk of the way I do these things. I work in a little bit of a different way than some of the old guys I've seen carving. When I watched Ito-san carve, I do these sort of zone by zone. I did the bucket first as an object, and then I've done the clothing now. I'm going to leave the body and the fingers for later. I'm going to switch to the second kid and start his clothing. And when I watched Ito-san carved, he really just worked across. He'd go through the bucket, then the foot, then the toes, just work his way, gradually going out, out, out. And also, he never did this clearings. He would just cut the lines, cut the lines, cut the lines, and do no clearing. And come back and do the clearing later. And that's part really left over from when they were working with teams. One guy would do the line work, another guy would do the clearing, somebody else would do the wide clearing, young apprentices. There's very few times when a single guy would work the entire block by himself in the old days. But then from the post-war period, bit by bit by bit, as the number of workers in the field decreased, the way that work was distributed among these workers changed. And instead of a workshop with 3 or 4 or 5 guys, it all became just single people sitting in their own homes doing this. So then it became a custom for one guy to do everything. One guy would just cut the lines and do all the clearing and do all the wide clearing and turn the finished blocks in. So the whole concept of how the work was distributed changed in the last half of the 20th century in the post-war period. Instead of 3 or 4 or 5 guys hunched over their desks in a group workshop, it became one-man show, one-man show. Of course, I've always done it this way as a single guy because that's that's who I've been. But And it's an interesting question for us as we move forward. We now have, I'm working here, Chon-san's working here, Kawasaki-san's working here, three of us. And we started to play around with the idea that we should maybe split up the work a little bit. The downside of that is, if Dave becomes the guy who cuts the faces and the outlines, and then Chon-san does the intermediate clearing, and Kawasaki-san does the final clearing, then nobody else gets any practice at doing anything else, and nobody progresses. So that kind of a breakdown, a division of labor, only makes sense in a workshop where there's an inflow of people. You've got new guys coming in as apprentices, and you've got older people, experienced people out of the top going out to set up their own workshops. So there's a flow of apprentices becoming experienced people coming in and out. And I can't see any way that we're going to get to that stage. So for the moment, all of us working here need to develop all the skills. So for this, certainly for the foreseeable future, we're going to stick with the current situation where each of us works on an individual print, start to finish, doing all the jobs. And the downside of that is that there's no work for beginners. So I guess it might fall to me, as we move forward with this. I'm going to do this whole job all by myself because it's going to go into my private print series, carved and printed by Dave. But when that sort of series is out of the way, what could be my next function here, as far as carving goes, is to work with beginners, letting them hack away at the parts that they can hack away, and I do the parts that they can't do. And bit by bit work with a group of kids like that over a period of months and years, sharing the labor, me doing the parts that they can't do, those kids gradually getting better and better, and me bit by bit handing off. But we're not at the stage where we can have such a structure here yet. Look, what's the question here? 90 degrees. If you're talking about the slope, there's a mountain shape. There's my pencil. To look from the side, if that's the finished carved line, of course it slopes down at each side to the sea. In general, that's the way we carve. It's not always the best way, and it's not always the way it was done in the old days. But the lines you see on this block, because I'm rotating it, I rotate it and carve this way, then I rotate the other way and carve this way. We end up being, all the lines do have a, we couldn't print, if the things were 90 degrees, like if it was laser carved at a 90-degree angle, it'd be really difficult to print. The brush bangs off, we get glue build-up at the front of the lines. We don't ever think about that. This is the way we do it. The brush comes along and runs the pigment up the lines. Sometimes we get build-up on the back side of the lines. So a perfect block for me, if there was a perfect block, it would have a C, run up the top printed line, and it would drop off on the back. So there'd be no build-up anywhere. And that's the way a number of the old blocks were carved. There was some angle here, let's just call it 45, and some angle here, 90, or sometimes even undercut. That's the best of the old carving was this way. Nowadays, we just have a run up to both sides of the mountain. Again, just before you ask the question, there's a darker area here and a lighter area. This block is going to be the block that has all the lines of this kimono. These faint little splodges here, these are patterns left over from the color blocks. They will not appear on this block. So all this faint line stuff is going to come off, and the color here also is going to come off. I'll be leaving just the lines. There's a line buried in the middle here. I've got to be really careful to try and figure out where it is. There's one line there. I think there's another line here. It's difficult to see. The pattern must have been red or dark brown, and it's come out here as dark on this transfer. Where do we start? Blah, 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 blah. This is fun stuff to carve. These lines are fun, but where to start? No idea. Let's just get his leg cut and then work up to it. Yeah, the end of your day started with me, so it's not a bad way to start the day. Actually, it's not the start. I've been doing all kinds of stuff already today. But yeah, it's not a bad way to start the day, of course. Yeah. I remember back when I lived in Ome, before we had this shop, this was it. I would get my breakfast, come down to my second basement, near where the river is. Get my block out, get my computer by my side, tune it into the BBC. BBC radio has fabulous worldwide broadcasts with all the different BBC radio streams. You can't see BBC TV in a foreign country, but all BBC radio is broadcast all over the world. And that was my companion during most of the day, broadcasts from the radio. I'd sit, start carving, it would be like, 8:30 in the morning. In summer, the windows would be open and the river sound is there. In winter, it's all huddled up in a cold room, no heat. And I'd keep working until around lunch, go upstairs and head for the local bakery or something, grab some bite, take a nap, come back to work 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3, work again till the evening, all day doing this stuff. Just sit here all day carving, when it was carving time. Then a week, 10 days would go by, the print would be finished, and then I switched to printing mode. And this was my life for like 25 years, a quarter century. I issued about 1 print per month, 10 or 12 a year. And this was my life. January stuff was exhibition time and PR and TV and all kinds of stuff going on. Then once the exhibition was over and I had the orders in hand, I'd get to my workbench and make them. It was a wonderful, wonderful, peaceful, quiet life. I blew it all up when I started hiring people and opened this shop. I still don't know if that was a good idea. I don't know. There's somebody just gone up the stairs behind me. I think it must be Suga-san. Her paper is out of the freezer, so. She's working on JJ2. The girls are coming along well with it. It looks pretty good. So the Japan Journey series, what's happening at the moment is our in-house staff, Ishikawa-san and Suga-san, are approaching the end of the first batch, the first 100 or so of JJ2. And one of our outside printers, Kanai-san, she's an inside printer but had a baby, so she's working at home now. And she's working on the second batch, the second 100 of JJ1. And Cameron did the invoicing for that the other day, so he did the invoicing in advance of the prints coming back. And what's today? Today's the 20-something, 24th or so, I think. So they should be finished 25th, 26th. Print should be in hand in a couple more days, by the end of the week. So the shipping ladies will be firing those out into the world probably on Monday or Tuesday. And the series is up and running. It's coming well. We've got it organized. I was afraid we'd be really late with a bunch of this stuff, but it's okay. We still haven't received the first batch of cases for it. the guys had said, the case maker, because one of their main guys was sick, they had said middle or end of January, and it's 20 something, so it's now middle or end of January. Cameron saying, good morning, good morning. No Eskimo get up today. Is it lighter, is it, than yesterday? Remind me when Aoyamson gets here, we ask about the cases for JJ's.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to get an update on that. And
Most recent update I heard was they're going to hurry to finish the first 50 and get those over to us and then go from there.
Yeah, but what's the timetable we're talking about? I heard middle end of January, and it's now
Middle end of January.
middle end of January. So
Yeah, I haven't heard any.
I think most people are patient. It's okay, but I would like to know where we're at with it.
So we can update people. It's coming this time or next time.
So, how we going here? I haven't. There's been mild chat. Oops, my name is popping up the lights here. When I did the exhibition for the new series and Take the Orders, were all the blocks ready? What did you exhibit on the walls? No, the pattern each year was that I exhibited all the prints made today. For example, when it was the Poet Series, the exhibition would be last year's set of 10, fresh and finished. Come and look at the exhibition. And in one corner of the room, there was a table with the outline for the next coming year. There's no blocks for what I was making, just simply there's the plan for the next one. And people would sign on to get the next set. And that happened for me from 1989 right through 25 years. 25 years, a quarter century I did that.